If you're tired of corporate media bowing to fascists and fundamentalists, check out The Collective. It's a grassroots, creator-owned platform for people who believe in liberation, not empire. At The Collective, you'll find fiery essays, sharp satire, and thought-provoking articles from today's boldest, justice-minded writers. Plus, you'll get real tools to create change, like scripts to contact your congresspeople, guides to push back locally, and a nationwide directory of Black and queer-owned businesses. Use promo code RADICALLOVE for 10% off a yearly subscription. That's a savings of 20% off the monthly price. Visit thecollective.com, that's TheQuollective, and become part of something that resists, reimagines, and rebuilds.
This is Radical Love Live, an ongoing series of conversations with thought leaders exploring faith outside the boxes, hosted by Mark Dilcomb and Kelly Wilson. Hello, beloved listeners. It's Mark with another episode of Radical Love Live. This is part 2 of our conversation with Brian Pearson. And Kelly, unfortunately, is not with us because of technology in the demons that were getting him. All of a sudden, he did not have bandwidth where he needed it to dial in on our conversation. So I'm flying solo here with Brian. Please indulge me with all the questions I fire at him. So Brian, welcome back.
Thank you. This is such a delight, Mark. I'm loving this. Thanks.
Thank you. I share your sentiment, and I hope our listeners are enjoying this as well. In fact, how could they not? It's a great conversation.
Yeah, how could they not? Yeah.
Could they not? Let's be confident. So as during the break between the episodes, I was looking at your studio and for our listeners that are watching this on YouTube or on Spotify via video, they will see that you have a kind of looks like a pretty elaborate setup. So tell us what you've got going on in that room.
Well, this is the music studio I always wanted to have and never had the space. And when we got this house, when my wife and I bought this house, this was all unfinished. This is the basement. So I've turned it into my studio cave. And well, it's sort of now, if I do this, I'm going to show you my wall of shame.
Okay. Oh, wow. Kelly is going to be so jealous when he sees this episode.
I'm so sorry. Way too many guitars because, you know, in your professional life, the kids grow up and go off to university and suddenly you find that you have disposable income. The kid in me is like all the guitars I ever wanted to buy, and they're not, expensive classic guitars, but I thought I need a place where they're not in cases, where they're out on the wall, where I can pick one up. And so, because I'm a songwriter, you want to have your mandolin handy for one song. You may want the banjo handy. So this is the studio that I built most of it myself, and I'm not handy at all, actually, so that it was a labor of love. And you can't look too closely at any of the details.
We will not start picking at, see if we see any drywall tape or any nail pops or anything else like that. We'll be kind.
But thanks for letting me show you my studio, because this is, I have a musical buddy, Mike, and he and I do a lot of performing together. And this is our rehearsal space. So it also means we can pick up different instruments and try different arrangements. And it's like my little dream. So every so often, because my wife and I are getting older, she will say, at some point we have to start downsizing. Yeah, right. We're not there yet.
Not there yet.
It may be a long time before we're there, honey.
Exactly. Maybe she'll let you have at least for a few more years. So you and your friend, where are you performing? Do you in Calgary? Tell us about what you do.
Yeah. So I've been a songwriter all my adult life. I actually left seminary to be a working musician. And I did. This is years ago. And so I was playing guest sets in the last surviving coffee houses of the late 1970s when everything was turning disco. And
You couldn't
during
make the
that
leap.
year, one A&R guy at a record company, he listened to my tape. Oh, this is such an embarrassing story to tell. I had 5 songs on this demo tape, and it was reel to reel. And he listened to the first 5 seconds of every song. He rewound the tape, put it in the box, put it at the edge of his desk, and said to me, "This is what we in the business would call sucky."
It was like, wow.
My heart is invested in these. And he said, "Look, everything now needs to be electric and needs to have a beat, and it's got to grab me in the first 5 seconds. So go off and write songs like that and come back and see me." And that was it. That was my big introduction. So
You were
anyway,
that's not in my spirit. I can't. You couldn't draw. Wow.
And I mean, what was happening that year when I was away from seminary, I found I was just as connected with church land as ever. And so it pulled me back in. It was like, okay, you can do the music. So to this day, I've never tried to do it professionally ever since. But I do recordings. There's some recordings on my website of some of the recent tunes I've done. But also even that, so I found a really good record producer, music producer I was working with, who wasn't too expensive, and he was great to work with, but something in my spirit that I couldn't identify said, "Yeah, you don't need to be doing this now." And I'm thinking, what are you saying? This is like the perfect guy to work with. Like, what is, and yet I've been learning in recent years, pay attention to those voices that you didn't invite. Pay attention. So, right? So I took him out for coffee, and I said, "Carrie, this is great. We had done 3 songs towards an album." And I said, "But I'm not going to do any more recording right now with you." And it was like we were breaking up. Like he was sad. We were both sad and all I could say was, "I don't think this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now," which is a pretty flimsy excuse because I loved it, right? So the music has its own place. And now what I'm finding is house concerts for me are where it's at. 30, 40 people in a room where I can see the reactions on their faces as I'm singing. That's what I want to do. And there's no money in it. You don't do any of that stuff for money. They almost all end up being for good causes. And so, but it doesn't matter. And because I get, and I also play there's a community center here that has a monthly open mic, and I'm there every month. So working out new songs, trying them out. And every so often they've invited me to be the featured guy for that month. And you do a 45-minute set. That keeps it alive. So the music is alive. Yeah. It's not on the radio, and I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. But it feeds your soul. So there you are.
Yeah.
You said something that I can share that experience where I have learned to listen to that voice inside, the intuition that I believe that's me, but it's the divine. I mean, we are divine. It's interstitial to us anyway, but I know that, and it's happened to me multiple times over the last 13 years. And this call that was, well, I can say it simply. The call was to end religious abuse towards my queer siblings. And so no other queer kid has to go through what I had to go through as a kid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That was, it is as simple as that, but how that was going to manifest and what does that look like? And there's been more than once, like including even discernment. I started a discernment process. And I thought I was called to serve and doing a very formal process. And, I started that process, but then the voice, part of the discernment was like sitting there, and I got a very loud message. This is not yours. It also so happened that the person happened to be my priest as well. She was helping me through this, guiding me through the discernment. She's like, "Yeah, I don't know if that's really what your call is. I think you need to be on the outside of church. I'm just saying." I'm like, no.
Wow.
I'm sure. She's like, "Okay, well then it's your journey. You will find out." Well, I found out. I say all that to say though, this is what happens when we listen and we intuit and we meditate and we we allow it to come out. And even if we don't know the answer and we're still looking through the glass darkly, as we all know about. And that has happened countless times that I'm looking through the glass darkly. Like, I can't see shit on the other side of this, but I know I need to be looking, and I know that whatever I'm looking at is where I need to be going. And it's not this where I thought I was going to go, but that's divine intuition operating. And that's just the way it goes, kids. It's not laid out and, some like, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. That's not how it goes.
And I mean, I love what you're saying. To me, that's a description of what faith really is.
Oh, yeah.
Faith isn't going where we know where we're going. Faith is taking the step, having no idea where we're going, but taking, and all that we're ever given, this is my experience, all we're ever given is the next step. That's all you get. And if you say yes, okay, the next step will come, right? It's a profound sense of being open to the divine, such that, okay, you want me not to do this? You want me not to go down this path towards ordination, say? I don't know what that's about. Okay. And then you don't do that, and something else opens, something else happens. You look back and go, God, am I ever glad I wasn't ordained? In your case,
I'm grateful, because the work I do is I'm just finishing out my manifesto, which is called Unrepentant, our manifesto for queer divinity and sacred justice. It's pretty fiery. And it's in 7 movements with 22 witnesses. So I'm just wrapping it up now. So I'm getting that process. It is something that as if I was ordained, I could never write, because I would be thrown out. Because I really call the church to power, not from a place of hate, there's some condemnation, to be clear, but it is condemnation rooted in radical love. Like, the church is not meant to be a cage. It is meant to be a sanctuary. What we see now, and we're all guilty and complicit in it. I don't care where you are inside that space. You can say, well, but I'm an Episcopalian, or I'm an Anglican, and I go to an affirming church, or I'm United, or whatever. It's like, it's still the whole church, though. And we are being dragged down by all of this. And we have an active role. Like, we can't just stand idly by and pretend, oh, well, if we go to this church, then we're not responsible. No, you are. If you're part of the process, part of the spirit, part of this tradition in any way, shape, or form, you are. But go ahead.
Well, I just want to say, to hear you talk like that, you're passionate about this.
Yeah.
You're living your passion, which, had you been ordained, this would have been very hard for you to find your voice, right?
You're right. Absolutely. I would not be able to do this. And so, thank you, Teresa, for pointing that out. And thank you, I guess, the spirit of Thomas Merton, because I was on a silent retreat at Gethsemane in Kentucky, discerning on this very thing, when I got a thunderclap of sort of like, you are not to do that right. Wow. So leave and go some other way, whatever that might look like. So, I will say, though, you spoke something a couple of minutes ago, and I've shared this with listeners before. About 5.5 years ago, I took a job with the company that I'm with now, and I was right in the middle of a 2-year program with the Shalem Institute for Spiritual Formation, Shalem in Washington, D.C., and it's very well known for its different programs. The one I was in was Transforming Community, how to lead retreat groups and contemplative practice. And I thought for sure something was going to manifest specifically, again, about this call. But then this job, I applied because I need to make money. And lo and behold, I got the offer. And I went into complete meltdown, because it was it's a leadership role. It was on the startup practice for this company that I work for now, and with lots of responsibility and with lots of people reporting to me and everything else. I'm like, and so I go to my spiritual director, and folks, I always suggest, if you're doing this work, you better have a spiritual director. That's all I can say, because they're the only ones that can help navigate this with you, because otherwise it will drive you crazy. So anyway, to this point, I walk into my spiritual director, Mark, and I'm on his sofa, and he is my therapist at this moment, not my spiritual director. I'm actually sobbing because I am so unsure and so caught up in trying to make the right choice in this. Mark looks at me and simply says, faith is putting your foot down in darkness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
it. Nothing else to be said. What is your call? You can only know this by stepping forward into darkness. That's it. So I wound up taking the job, and here I am. So,
Well, it's a great story because the life of faith is often eclipsed by the life of belief, right? Within the church.
right.
Of here's what we know, add up the pros and cons, whatever, and this is what you should do, as opposed to it's all mystery. It's all mystery. And we walk into the mystery, and lo and behold, there's a little bit of light to take one more step. And I mean, what a great way to live. I just can't imagine living any other way than this way, where I was wondering at the end of my podcast season last year if I was done. I'd done it for 5 years.
Yeah.
And I was starting to repeat myself, and I kind of pimped myself out with one of my guests where their publisher wanted me to talk to them, and I had an open slot, and I said, sure, yeah, I'll talk to them. That's great. It was terrible. It wasn't a good fit. And I thought, what am I doing? So I thought at first, egoically, like, I think I'm done. Maybe this has run its course. Didn't do anything about it. Over the summer, however, a new vision, a new dream for where we might go began to impress itself upon me. And I thought, whoa, we're so not done. We're not done. But
Amen.
That's done. That chapter is done.
Right.
And now I need to walk into the darkness of this new season, barely knowing how am I going to get the guests I want now? Like, that's a whole new thing. Anyway, so I love it. I think that this is the life of faith. What a great life.
So you come from a place of experience that you can actually discern the difference between faith and belief. And I don't think we do a good job about in conversation about what that is, because it gets all tangled up into religion, and it gets like, oh, what's this or that.
Yeah.
But there is a clear line between belief and faith.
Yeah, I think so.
So can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Sure. I think it was what we were talking about last time about the provisional nature of anything we think. That originally, when we think of theologians in the early church, they were trying to make sense of an experience, but the experience came first. Some of them knew the earthly Jesus. Some of them knew the risen Lord. But they were trying to make sense of that experience relative to their cultural background, their religious beliefs, and all that. So it was kind of an experimental journey in what words can we put to this. Eventually, when those became codified, such that they're in creeds, and now they are the doorkeepers of whether you're in or out, they stopped being provisional. They stopped being experimental. But I think theology is always a secondary activity. It's trying to find the words for the experience. If our theology in our churches keeps people from having an experience of the divine, we, like Carl Jung, I wish I could find where he wrote this, we talked about modern religion in his time, but just ours as well, is the one institution that keeps people from the very thing that they seek. Because we say, you don't have to go and have this experience. We've already had it. We've already thought it through. You just have to believe this. And I just think that, so if faith is belief, that is a poor substitute for actually getting out there and what you were just talking about, taking a step of faith where you don't know. You don't know, will this be good or bad? Will it be helpful? Will it not? Who knows? That's faith. Belief is, yeah, I think, and this is what I think maybe happened in that experience provisionally. I don't know.
That's brilliant. So you bring up Jung, and that is, if you ever do find that quote, please let us know. So that resonates. So it feels like that could be said by a number of prophets, mystics, truth sayers, all of those who you're absolutely right. When you're handed something and you're told to believe, where are you going to gain any experience out of that? But the current religious structures as we know them are exactly that. Unlike, where the one I was talking about, where I'm a part of, ICN, the Integral Christian Network, there's a framework there, but it is pretty loose. And it's really just so that actually kind of you have some kind of framework for the cats, because otherwise it's going to be pure chaos. So you need to have some structure to navigate the experience in that, like, with check-ins, with the meditations, with the which is based on whole body mystical awareness, like, embodied mysticism. And then, of course, the resonating prayer and sending out a geyser of love, which sounds very cute and quaint, but it's true. We send out love at the end of these gatherings to the world, and to the cosmos. And that's enough because it allows everybody then to weave through that. And yes, they also have a Sunday gathering because that's what is comfortable. It feels familiar to folks, but even that is not anything traditional in that true sense of a religion, because it's not even a denomination, and they don't make it out to be a denomination. It's not doctrinal at all. It's experiential, but experiential is uncomfortable to a lot of folks because again, the reason why the people are in ICN is because they already went through the belief systems that said, and it felt very dry, and just like, okay, I'm not getting one. I'm not being nourished.
Do you know, I have two sons in their 30s, and because of me, church was inflicted upon them as young people, and my daughter as well. But they quickly realized it was giving them nothing that they could cling to. And so they were very respectful that it was my work and all that stuff. And they liked the people in the churches. But they have both, one son in particular has done a lot of experimenting with drugs, with various kinds, and in a religious kind of way. So DMT and mushrooms, of course, and other things, which, and what they were looking for was these weren't party drugs. Mm-hmm. They were looking for the experience that they felt they would never get in church. And they were right. Mm-hmm. So they, when my one son would describe, there'd be 4 or 5 of them doing DMT. One would take it at a time, and the others would hold the space for that person. And when and it was only about a 5-minute, maybe 5-10 minute experience, they'd come out and they'd give them space. Did they want to talk? Like they figured out how to support each other, having this kind of manufactured, maybe mystical experience. But I thought, and my sons, because we have a good relationship, that they tell me this stuff. My same son also said that his favorite drug is acid. And I've gone, oh God, you didn't have to tell me that. Oh, please. Oh God. Because that is certainly a party drug. Anyway,
but people had really great experiences.
Yes, but they were so intentional. I thought there's a spiritual instinct that they're obeying in this, and the church couldn't satisfy it. And so here they are doing this on the side, and they're having these. They are, I mean, I would say if they have any belief system at all, it really is a kind of universalism, like all is one, because they've experienced it. Yeah. So there is something about experience, which is it dangerous? Yes. Do you need some safeguards? Yeah, I think so. Right? You need a container maybe for this? Yeah. But if there's no experience, it's almost like then you're not living your life. You're not living your life.
Wow. Now you're touching on something else. How many people actually go through life not living their life?
Not living their life.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't know if you want to loop back to the book, because we don't have to go there.
No. You need to.
This goes there. This goes there because really, what I didn't write the book with a story arc in mind. I wasn't writing a book. I'm a writer, so I would write about a 2,500 or 3,000 word reflection, essay, storytelling about some aspect of my journey looking back that felt significant. I thought, that's a branching point. I should just spend some time with that. Well, once I had enough of them, I realized actually you string these together and they do tell a story. They tell a story of how my natural curiosity always got me into trouble in the church because I was curious about what was not being said. I was curious about who was not being represented. And at the same time as I was signing on in my early days to be ordained to represent the church, I was their representative. And yet my natural curiosity it just sort of felt, it was always getting me into trouble with bishops. And not all, because some bishops were they quite loved it. I think they lived through me vicariously. But,
sure, because as you said, I mean, when they become the defender of the faith, and
Yeah.
I have a relationship with bishops, so I appreciate, what it is. Talk about parish priests being constructed. Oh my God, at bishop level, you really are towing the company line, and don't you ever dare go too far.
Well,
I see why they would live through you. Yeah.
it is so true. So anyway, so I thought I want to gather these stories because the story arc overall, it's about how eventually my curiosity won out, that it carried me to the edges of the church. It put me in conflict with my bishop because we were an affirming church, downtown congregation in one of the only urban dioceses in Canada, in the Anglican Church, where the bishop refused to permit same-sex blessings, let alone marriage. And I'm thinking, I mean, it was so offensive to me that I ended up, for the last 6 years of my ministry, in constant conflict with my bishop. And I hate conflict.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that.
But 6 of us at one point, clergy, made a statement. We did an irregular marriage ceremony. And as expected,
he conditioned it as it was an irregular.
Well, because it was a woman and her trans partner, and there was no container that our bishop could recognize that would have allowed that to happen. So we did it, and all 6 of us stood up and said the dreaded words, the nuptial blessing. We actually blessed this marriage.
Yes, you should.
And the next week we got called in, and we were told, you do that again, you're fired. It was that clear. So my curiosity kept. And this is why I love what you're doing with your show about the radical love doesn't know boundaries. And I think it was your last guest who was talking about buttless Christianity, where there should be no but. If love is love, and that kept leading me out to the edge.
There could be a double entendre in there.
No kidding. I loved it. Anyway, so the book is really a collection of stories that end up with my leaving the church to explore go where my curiosity was taking me and lose my fear, so that, like, when I was doing the shamanic work within and especially within the conservative Christian world, that's anathema. Those people are devil worshippers, right?
Well, because that's the threat, though, Brian. That's exactly the threat that will be nailed to this. You do this.
Yes.
You are bringing Satan out right there. And God, you scared the shit out of somebody, so they're going to stop in their tracks.
But, well, probably an even better example is the spiritualists who talk to dead people. So in the church,
you must well be talking to witches at that point. So pile on.
Well, I was, but in the church, we talk about the communion of saints. We say, like, there's this communion of souls who live on. Don't try to talk to one, because it says in Leviticus, you don't want to be, consorting with the dead. And I'm thinking, if anyone ever took that literally, like the disciples or the apostles, Jesus shows up and they're going to go, so we can't talk with you. Sorry, it says in Leviticus, we're not allowed to talk.
Can't do this.
So within our own tradition, we create these boundaries. Well, when I went to the spiritualist church, I had 2 very meaningful visits with my dad, who died in 1999. And the church was not filled with dark woo-woo people. The whole church existed to facilitate those communications that were positive and healing and wholesome. That's what they were committed to. The shaman that I worked with, I wanted to have a conversation with him and a spiritualist and a Reiki master about all the dark stuff, because I know they've all encountered dark stuff in the spiritual realms, and I wanted them to talk about it. I couldn't get them sitting around a table to talk about that stuff, because all they were concerned about was, but we don't go there. We're all committed to healing. We're committed to the light. We're committing to helping people to heal and to rise. They all had different language for it. I thought all of our fears are that these people are messing with the dark principalities, and all of them were committed to health and healing and wholeness. I didn't meet anybody who was a devil worshiper and all that stuff. So there's something about so my curiosity led me to these places of, let me just go and experience it. And in every case, what did I find? The living God.
Of course.
In all these other guises, and that's really what the stories, what the book's about, is to collect the stories that basically says, do not be afraid, which is what every angel has ever said to anybody. It's do not fear. Do not fear.
So can I share something with you? And I don't think I've ever shared this on Radical Love Live. It's so August 22nd of 2023, and then on August 23, 2023. So just over 2 years ago. So on August 22nd, I had a visitation by my maternal grandmother. And I woke up from that knowing that that was a visitation. That was nothing other than that. And it was comforting, and it was affirming to me that indeed not everything is just in this world, that she is in a space, and she there's always that veil, right? The beyond the veil, but she crossed over. It was interesting because she was sitting at my feet, not looking directly at me, but had a smile. And she was real. She was there, and never spoke. But the next evening, I had another visitation by what were three angels, and they scared the holy living shit out of me.
Yeah,
because I was in this house that I had never been. I am sitting in this, and I could go into depth about describing the house, but I won't for the sake of time. But they were knocking on a door that was on the side. It was like a side door to this small box house. Like it was best described as a bungalow, or like a 2-bedroom house. It just has a couple of private rooms. And I'm looking, and they're looking at me, and I can't make out their faces. I don't know who they are. And they turn the door handle, and I'm so scared. There is a shotgun next to me, and I tried to shoot them because I feel like they're trying to break into the house. Like I'm so shocked. I'm so scared. I don't understand what this is. And after I wake up, I realize they were angels, and I had to see what that was like. And thankfully I didn't shoot them. I'm scared. I didn't know, but it was absolutely unnerving, but I will never forget those 2 days, ever.
And doesn't it change your waking perception of the world to think that there are beings beyond us, among us, within us? Like it all just reaffirms that the world is indeed a mystery, and we don't know much. We don't know shit. So therefore, let us welcome these experiences. And what is this to teach me? That's a very powerful experience. And if that were just, somebody said to me recently, I don't know how she said a friend of hers did a dissertation on this subject. She said 75% of people interviewed who were members of congregations had some kind of spiritual experience like what you're describing. Mm-hmm. And in most instances, they never shared it with their church friends or with their priest or their minister. In other words, all these, like, I just think, but why, if that's true, why doesn't somebody preach a sermon saying, next time your grandmother comes to you, here's how you can sit with her and be with it, like affirm the experience and let them know, normalize it. So like, okay, what a lovely experience. And what's your takeaway? Like, but the church, we never went there.
And it doesn't have the capacity. I shouldn't say it shouldn't have the capacity, because there's always individuals within church that could do that, maybe on a one-on-one, but to do that in such a bold, positioning, because you're right. Spiritual experiences show up. If we're paying attention, spiritual experiences are happening on a consistent basis. They're there. It's just are you aware to them? Are you in tune to them? So,
well, even Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask because I feel like your book and the tree thing is tree thing. I said that completely. I did not mean to diminish it that way. I find spirit in trees. In fact, in my framework of faith, which is available on my website, I've got posts. I have pictures of trees, and I have poems that I've written to trees.
Yeah.
Trees that I see God in trees, right? Because God is in all of us anyway. But to see how it manifests in particular trees and species and the power of that. And if you look at pictures of family pictures, how many times is there a family picture that there's a tree that's a part of that? Could very well be in the background, but more often than not,
Yes.
there's a tree involved. That's not by accident. We're drawn to those things. They hold stories. Like the other day, I was driving through Connecticut, and I was at a rest area there on 95, and I'm walking my dog actually so she could pee, and I'm standing by a pine tree that has to be 150, maybe 200 years old, you know, and I'm thinking this tree has literally seen the revolution.
Yeah.
It has seen, it's witnessed so much. And it's now a part of this rest area. If this tree could talk, what would it tell us? What stories would it share? What is it witnessed?
Well, and the assumption that we're somehow connected and interconnected with trees and the whole natural world, that we're part of this, which in the Western world and the European kind of world, we've just lost that. So the work that I did with the Animas Valley Institute really was all about recovering a sense of soul in the world, that that was pulling something out of me, drawing something out of me. And so the title of the book is Talking to Trees, but it's also the title of one of the chapters where I compare that experience of learning to talk to trees with my experience of prayer that in the church, because God never talked to me. Trees have never talked to me. But in the seeking of this holy relationship, there is something going on between us. So even though God never talked to me, in the days that I prayed in a more conventional, I'm more of a meditator now, but in the days when I would talk to God and not get an answer, something was happening under the surface which had to do with my relationship with the divine. And I think in the same way, when we give trees in this case, but it could be any part of nature, give them their own share in divinity, to relate to a tree, have a relationship with a tree, changes everything. It says that we are both creatures in this earth. You have things to teach me, even though you may not care because you're living your own divine life and you don't care about my sniveling problems that I might bring to you. But there is a reciprocity somehow here that connects us with the entire earth and beyond it to what we were talking about earlier, the oneness of all things. I think it's a profound portal to living mystically on the face of the earth.
Thank you for using that word. That's an important word to this. It is a portal, and those portals are always there if we just seek them and walk through that portal. I can relate to this as well. And we go up to Provincetown, Cape Cod, at least once a year. We just came back, and one thing I did not get to do, just didn't have time, is I will always do a well watch. Now, Roy will never go with me. None of our friends will go with me. Like, you're on your own. But I do that.
I would go. I love that.
See, there you go. Then I will let you know next time we're up there. Maybe you can, we'll do the well watch together, because you have the, it's called the Steel Wagon Bank, which is just a few miles off at the tip of Provincetown, between that and Boston. And it's a deep drop off where no less than like 10 different species of whale come to feed on all of the krill. And it's a feeding feast for them, because they're fattening up before they make their travels. And it could be minke whales. Of course, it's great. It's going to be humpbacks, and there's fin whales there, and right whales. And you just never know what you're going to see. Yeah. But I do that because years ago, the first time I did it by myself, amongst a big group though, to see the soul of a whale is not hard to do, like, especially when they're that close to you. And you realize this animal is as smart as I am, if not smarter. And just because it doesn't communicate with us doesn't mean that it can't communicate, number one, because it does communicate amongst its own species, and they can do it globally. This has all been proven with the songs of the humpbacks that travel globally between the oceans, between their own subgroups. Their songs, just like it's, I don't know, a Taylor Swift song, that same song will show up in another ocean in another pod of whales. That's there's high consciousness operating there, right?
Absolutely.
They just don't talk to us that way, but yet they will spend their time, and you see them. And it is more than just to say, well, I can see the soul when I look into their eye because I have to be that close. I'm not George W. Bush to see souls through people's eyes like that, but it's just the magnificence of it all. But it's also, it is deeply humbling, right? It puts me in perspective with the world, that it is so much more than just me or just us. Like, there are just so many things, and the world will go on without humans, Homo sapiens, where the way we're going anyway. And not to go to a dark place, but I mean, we keep up doing what we're doing, we're going to end this species, and we're probably going to take others with us as well. But the planet itself will survive us, and a lot of other species will survive us, even though we've killed off a lot of species. I mean, but it's for me, it's always a transcending experience where I see God. I see God in action. Yeah. I see God in all its allness there, in ways that I can't get in a lot of other places.
Can I tell you a story about trees?
Yeah, of course.
This was on my vision quest, which was in the Calgary Mountains of southwestern Colorado. And we were 11 days, 15 of us camping in a meadow, and then building up to or down to solos. So for the solos, we were fasting. We would go off in isolation, and we were kind of preparing ourselves for an encounter with soul, which was, again, they didn't have religious language, but that's the language they use. Is sort of like, what is my deepest calling here? Why have I been put on this earth? What is what is the calling such that I will have to go from here and find out the delivery systems to be the person I'm called to be in the world? It was all that. Anyway, third day of my fast, I'm on my own on the edge of a meadow. I have a big aspen forest behind me. And your perception changes when you're, when you're not eating. And but what I was doing was just beholding everything. And I had the sense that was the word, just behold everything, that you're seeing. But third day of the fast, I go for this wander into the forest behind my tent. And I had this strong sense of bless the trees. And I thought, that's laughable. They're blessing me. I don't bless trees. Okay. I hear you. Bless the trees. So I start laying my hands on trees, every tree I'm passing, and I'm saying, thank you for your life. Thank you for your life. Even the dead ones, because I know that they were giving life to the forest. And I got kind of giddy about it. It was this delightful experience. And to whatever extent we can even know this, I felt that the forest was liking it too. It was like this joyful moment. Went as far as I could on this little deer run, because it really wasn't a path, and sat down for a while. And then it was time to come back. So I'm waking my way back down the path I'd already been on, and I'm blessing trees left and right, and having the feeling that some of them just a little out of reach are saying, hey, what about me? Bless me too. So I'm doing this, right? I'm having great fun with this.
Yeah.
I come out to about where my tent is, and there's two trees that share a common trunk and root system, and they are clearly the matriarchs of the whole wood. My sense is all the other trees have come from these, because these are older and bigger trees.
Of course.
And so I'm feeling, okay, thank you. And I put my hand on each one, bless you, thank you. As I'm doing this, I'm seeing in my peripheral vision that the trunk of this tree is badly carved up and is bled out. Like there's been steps. So I take a step back so I can just see what this is. And I recoil with horror, because somebody has carved deeply into the trunk of the tree Jesus 1972. And they'd spent a lot of time on those letters to make them almost kind of artistic. But the tree had suffered for that. Now, in 1972, I was part of the Jesus People movement. If that had been me camping on that mountainside, I could well have carved up that tree as my witness to Jesus, right? The shame that came over me about that part. Now, first of all, you have to say the coincidence of me being in an unpeopled, unpopulated part of this whole mountain, and that's the tree I come upon. That coincidence itself says, okay, is there some kind of guiding hand here? My reaction, however, it was the trees which had delighted in my blessing them, felt like they were now also sharing their pain with me. If you're gonna delight with us, you're gonna know our pain. And I felt terrible, like that, knowing in 1972 I could have carved that. I could have damaged that tree in that way. There was a turnaround, and the story goes on at other places. But it was such, to this day, as I tell the story, I still feel emotional about it, and I still don't even really know what it means. I told it to someone, and they said, oh, well, that's cool. That's a story, but Jesus was there too. I don't think so. I don't think that's what that story is. I think the trees were telling me something else.
This is feeling the remorse of our actions, of our own hubris as humans, as Homo sapiens, that we feel that we are the chosen species. Is like, no, we're not. No, we're not.
And that our witness might include defacing something God has made, so that I can put literally my stamp on it. Yeah. It was a sickening realization, but I mean, that's where sometimes these things take us if we're going to believe that the natural world is alive with the divine, as I think it is.
Beautifully said. So your book, first of all, where can people find the book? Are you on Amazon and all?
Yeah, all the regular places. You can get it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble and all that. But I'm not a great fan of Amazon, not only because they pay me so little for a book.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Here's your nickel.
There's that too. But also, if somebody goes to my website, which is my name with my middle initial, brianepearson.ca for Canada, brianepearson.ca, they can order the book there, and I will send it signed. I will sign it. Amazon can't give you that. And I will also, if you want it dedicated to someone, I'll do that. So, but that's, and also I'm very pleased. And by next week at this time, the audiobook should be out. I spent the summer recording the thing as an audiobook. So you can get it.
I am a sucker for audiobooks, especially when it's in the voice of the author.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how are you going to
so I would say the book itself?
No, not the book. Yeah, you answered that question with the website. But how's the audiobook going to be out? So
that'll appear. Well, that'll be Amazon and other places. I'm told, I don't know how it works. I'm told that I'll get a link, and so I can sell it from my website as well. But I don't yet know how that works. But that's my hope, so that people can get it there as well. But the ebook is available online wherever people want to get it. And but you know what's really hard, Mark? It's trying to get it into actual stores. My God, trying to get a book into stores if you're not going through an agent. Because there's so many people who aren't getting published by big publishers, and so they want local stores, independent bookstores to carry they're deluged by requests, and some of them are by authors who are really bad. So they have to vet these things. And so I've been told by several bookstores, it's already in several bookstores around here, but others have said, we'll think about it and fill out the form and we'll get back to you in 6 weeks. It's that kind of arm's distance relationship. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. It's out there now.
Well, I'm about to explore that because the first creation, that is the framework of faith. That's the title to it. Probably not the only person who's used that title, but it's on my website. But I put it out there for the purposes of people to see my journey that's led me up to a certain point. this manifesto, and it's accumulation of things. And also I don't sell it because I have copyright of others inside there. So I acknowledge that from the get-go. It's like, there are the works of others, whether edited or an element of that. And yes, I could go seek them. I even give an opportunity for somebody, if I'm using something that somebody doesn't want me to use, they can notify me, which has not happened. But yeah, some of my own work, my own poetry inside of that. But it's just an accumulation that was really never meant to be put into print form. It's just too much, maybe a little too complicated. And I like it out on the internet for people to find. But the manifesto is going to go into print, to be sure. And although I would imagine it's probably going to be self-published, I'm not sure. I know folks at Westminster and some other, but it's a little hot.
But you should do the audio version. You've got a great radio voice. You should do the audio version.
Absolutely. I was talking to my mentor and friend. He's everything to me, Justin. We were, yes, I am going to record this because they're written in prose form. Like I said, there are 22 witnesses in 7 movements that take a journey. And yes, they need to be in spoken word because then it picks up my power. And it's my language, it's my words, it's everything about that. So that is the best way for it to get out into the world. So,
more power to you, because the more we tell our stories, the more other people are empowered to tell theirs, I think.
Yeah. So well said, Brian. So for our listeners, as we wrap up this episode, I hope if you didn't listen to the first part, please go back and do that, because you could do that and not miss anything here. I will have everything about Brian in his show notes as always. So, but as he said, you can find him at brianepearson.ca. And we'll also have any other information that Brian provides to us as well, including like your social media, if you want folks to find you in other ways as well, Brian. So thank you, my friend. This has been nothing short of an amazing conversation.
Well, my thanks to you. I love this. I told someone recently, I think the purpose of the book was not to sell books. I think in the end it was to have conversations. So this was my dream. So and we should have a shout out to Kelly, wherever you are, Kelly. Sorry you couldn't join us because of technical difficulties.
And to that end, we will close on this. This is what he said to us. Please give Brian my apologies. I really love his writing style. So there you are.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you both.
Blessings to you, Brian, in your journey. I look forward to our paths intersecting again.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Radical Love Live, hosted by Mark Dilcom and Kelly Wilson. Recorded at the Bravery Studios in Garfield, New Jersey. All rights reserved. Find our episodes on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. And check us out at radicallovelive.com, along with our personal websites at markdilcom.com and kellywilson.com. This is Radical Love Live, where we explore faith outside the boxes.